creativity was just something that like was born in me, which I really didn't realize. I never really thought I was that creative. I was just always so envious of creative people, and I always try to mimic or recreate the taste that I was seeing in them.
Hello, and welcome back to the Corner Store's podcast, Put It on the Counter. Not just a safe space for creatives, but the safest of them all. I'm your host for this episode, Aryana Williams, social content creator. As you guys know, we are currently in the thick of our program, the I Create Bootcamp with the Marcus Graham Project, and things have been amazing, but we have lots of questions, so we bring in the OGs for that. So today we have a special guest, not just an MGP alum, I Create alum, but a multi-hyphenate building his own dream. Please welcome Obafemi.
Thank you very much. So I'm originally from Lagos, Nigeria.
Yes.
That's where I was born.
Yes.
But moved to New York when I was 10. So I'm a New Yorker. I'm from New York. Obviously, also from Lagos in Nigeria.
Yeah.
And what school did I go to?
College specifically.
College specifically.
Yeah.
I went to a small college called SUNY Fredonia, and that's like upstate New York, like Western New York, by Buffalo and Niagara Falls. Don't go there. But
Shout out to them.
They were shout out to them. Very formative,
Yes.
Times, and actually a really big part of my love for music and my skill for music and appreciation for it. So yeah.
Absolutely. And that's awesome. So what was that like for you in the transition from Nigeria to the States? Specifically, what was it like for you bringing your culture and experiencing that in New York as well?
Yeah, I mean, it was a huge culture shock.
Right.
I was learning and relearning and rediscovering a whole lot of things that I just was never exposed to. And some things that I was exposed to, but on TV, right?
Mm-hmm.
I remember, we got to New York in the dead of winter, November.
What?
And I remember getting off the plane, getting handed a jacket, which I ain't never had to wear before. And when I got to the house we were staying at, my hands were so cold that I decided to run them under hot water. I now know that's a terrible idea.
Yeah.
At the time, that was it made sense, right?
Yes.
You got cold hands,
'Cause you tan.
put it under hot water.
What else?
Didn't work. made it a whole lot worse.
Yeah.
So, big culture shock then. But, I think that I just learned to appreciate just the culture and learn so much about Western culture, the good and the bad, and really understand, how I can use my story and infuse it with what I now know.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I know you kind of mentioned when you kind of started your love for music, your love for the arts. Did you come from a creative family background? Music, was it in your family, or were you kind of like the oddball who kind of brought that into your family?
Not at all. No one in my family was a creative.
Wow.
Infamously the holy trinity of the Nigerian or really most immigrant household is doctor, lawyer, engineer.
Yes.
My sister's a doctor, my brother's an engineer. I'm not a lawyer.
Right. You were supposed to.
that was and what's funny, so yeah, no one. I mean, my dad was an entrepreneur, and my mom worked in finance.
Right.
So it was just creativity was just something that was born in me, which I really didn't realize. I never really thought I was that creative. I was just always so envious of creative people, and I always try to mimic or recreate the taste that I was seeing in them, and that's how I came to my creativity. But come to find out, it was there all along.
Right, because it sounds like you have that hustle, especially you were saying your dad was an entrepreneur. And we know creatives, we have to have that hustle to keep things going.
Got to.
Even when they not going.
Even when they not going.
Even when they not going.
You know what I'm saying? You got to be a little delusional,
right,
too.
just a little. A little delusional.
You got to wake up thinking it's going,
Until it happens. Then it's I always knew you could do it.
Exactly.
Right. Absolutely. And you did mention you kind of almost emulated what you saw as a kid. So how did you imagine your life playing out, from 10-year-old Olu when you was coming? Like, what were you imagining? When I grew up, I want to be, what were you thinking? Like, what were you seeing? And were you influenced by culture in the States as well?
Yeah. Growing up, I really just wanted to be somebody impactful, right? I think I like the first thing, I don't know how or why, but the first thing kind of remember was like really wanted to be like an executive in marketing, you know, and
The
but
boss.
it looked a certain way. I wanted to be in suits and talking about creative campaigns and like telling people ideas. And I really don't know where that came from, but I always kind of had that kind of thought. And also I always had, I thought I was gonna be the next Kanye West. I'll just
Right.
keep it G with you.
Right.
I like started producing at a young age, or at least learning how to and then understanding music and like I thought I was gonna be Kanye, and like a music mogul, So I don't know if that really answers your question, but
Well,
like marketing and music
yeah.
was always like somewhere and like playing in there.
Yeah.
I think those were like the main things.
So you saw the environment of what it could look like,
Yeah.
envisioning. And I feel like I do share that same sentiment. And you may not be the next Kanye, but you are the first Olu. So,
Hey, let's
period.
get it.
We
Yeah,
need
you're
that,
right. You're
right?
right. You're
Yeah, and
right.
like having an
I definitely
imagination.
don't want to be the next Kanye, by the way. That
You got to be the first
that
you.
played out.
Right.
You
You
know
got
what
to
I'm
be the
saying?
first
Got to be
you.
the first
You
you.
got to be the
You know what I'm
first you.
saying?
And it's like you have to have that vision, that almost delusion that we always we
Hmm.
always talk about. Specifically with this podcast being, dreamers never stop and dreams never stop. We always joke hustle don't stop, but
Hustle don't
it
stop.
just never stops, and it shouldn't stop. That kid like fantasy has to keep us artists going,
Hmm.
right? And so as you transition through college, going through music and all these different phases, being a multi hyphenate, as someone who can relate, like how hard is it sometimes to choose, or when did you feel like you had to pivot, and be more specific? And honestly, more specifically to MGP, how did you land on, okay, let me go into a program that is specific in marketing? I have all this background, I have all this creative, but how did you find a way to funnel that into the industry of marketing?
Yeah, I feel like my story with MGP was really, it's really like definitely wasn't luck, more of like a divine kind of happenstance because at the time, MGP was like launching. I mean, just to date
Yeah,
myself,
let's talk about what
it
year
was
we
the
talk about.
it was the very first year, like
Wow.
the OG program, the
Right.
very first program,
Right.
and I was in Dallas. My parents moved to Dallas from New York, and it was my first summer in Dallas. And I had no connections, didn't know anyone, had nothing. I was like, what am I gonna do? I was home from college, and I saw on TV this program and this guy called Lincoln and this guy called Larry were on there, and it was a bunch of young black dudes, and they were saying how they were like launching this advertising program, this boot camp in Southside Lamar in Dallas, and I was just like, what is that?
What in the
And
world?
how can I be part of
Right.
that?
Right.
So the program for my story, like the program had already started. It had been a weekend. And I was like, I got to figure out what that is because if I'm spending summer here, not knowing anybody, I got to figure out something to do. And that looks like the most interesting thing I can do.
Absolutely.
So I found Lincoln's email, and I emailed, and I was like, "Hey, look, I think I was going to be a junior, and I was like, I'm studying marketing. I'm in Dallas from New York, for the summer, and I just like this looks like something like this looks like I want to be part of this.
Right.
How can I be part of this? I know you guys already started, but would love to meet." And I got an email back. Like, I don't even know. It might have even been the same day. But got an email back and was like, yo, just pop off, come up to the loft and like, would love to meet you and chat with you. Came, met Lincoln, just kind of, we chopped it up. It was like a desk. We just chatted. A bunch of the cohorts were like walking by and I just said, hey, and he just like, let me introduce you guys. And then it was very brief conversations. And I was just like, hey, we just kind of talked. It just learned a little bit about me and I went home. And by the time I got home, I had an email waiting for me that said, "You're in. Come back to the office tomorrow." And that's how I got into the Marcus Graham
And we talking
project.
about 1 day turnaround.
One day,
This is giving 24 hours.
24 hours,
Wow.
just like that.
Wow.
Crazy.
And you just had to take that initiative.
Yeah, I had to. I was like,
Yeah.
I was like, there's nothing for me to do here.
Right.
And when I saw that, I locked in completely. I said,
Yeah.
I gotta be part of that.
Absolutely. And so we're talking like what 1920 around
Yo,
that age,
that
right?
what you mean? Oh, I thought you
Age.
meant like in the 1920s.
No.
I said, oh,
19 years
I'm getting lined
old,
up over
20
here.
years old.
Oh, snap.
No, I would
No, I'm
never do you
joking.
like that. I would never do you like
Okay,
that.
okay, right.
Yeah, and that's a very impressionable age. You know, like at that age, you're kind of like, I don't know what's going on, but
Right,
I know I need to do something. I
right,
know what I like. Do I know what I love? And especially when you're coming from a family that is kind of pushing you in a certain direction, and you're like, whose voice should I listen to? As
right,
you're still developing your own voice.
right.
So you definitely, you taking that initiative. How did the program change your life, and how did it end up impacting your career in the long run?
Yeah. I mean, so the program, I mean, is just an immense, like, it changed my life a lot. Like, I wouldn't be here without the Marcus Graham Project. And it wasn't just that, like, being there that year. It was just being part of the program. Like, I mean, it was my introduction to essentially everyone that I know in the advertising industry
Right.
right now, because through the Marcus Graham Project, I got involved with Ad Color. I got involved with the Ad Club of New York. While I was in New York, I got involved with essentially all the 4As, like all of them, right?
Right.
And it started with just being part of MGP. And my network grew exponentially from really knowing no one to like almost knowing everyone,
Yeah.
at this point. Not everybody, but, like
Everyone you needed to know.
everyone I needed to know.
Right.
Exactly. So it's even and even till now, where I like have mentors through the program. They change me, in terms of, I think mentorship is also like a two-way street.
Right.
So when I'm kind of pouring in or giving advice or sharing experience with someone, they're doing the same with me, regardless of age. They're giving me inspiration. They're giving me a different perspective. So it's changed me a lot.
This episode is sponsored by Ari Lux Beats. We're all about providing luxury glam makeup services, and we specialize in melanated skin of all ranges. If you're into soft, natural, or over-the-top glam, we've got you covered. Find us on Instagram at Ari Lux Beats. And don't forget to check out our website for more. Big thanks to Put It on the Counter podcast, The Corner Store, and the Marcus Graham Project for making this possible. Now, back to the show. Right. And
Yeah.
I was going to even ask, what made you come back as a mentor? Because we know mentorship is an experience, whether you're being the mentee or the mentor, it's abundant. There's so many things that can come out of it. And obviously, in not all relationships, you're just talking about professionalism. You're talking about life sometimes. You're like, I don't even know what to put on this resume. Like,
Right.
what are we doing? I'm a
Right.
creative. Why does the resume look like that? So what made you come back as a mentor as well?
I had to, just because my story is filled with so many people like cracking the door open for me. My story is filled with so many people taking, some time out of their life or out of whatever they were going through to give me perspective, to like give me game, and it's just like a necessity. I was like, you have to, like, there's no question about it,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah. So what do you feel like during MGP was one of the biggest attributes that you experienced that impacted your skills specifically, or more so your talent? What do you remember that you were like, okay, I learned this through this program and it stuck with me to this day. And me practicing this, learning this really did make an impact on my next steps and how I am successful.
Out of everything, honestly, I think that it was just the power of the network, to be honest with you. Because for me, because at the time I was a multi-hyphenate, I don't necessarily think I look good on paper. because everything was kind of fractured.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
I know exactly
So you
what
know
you mean.
exactly what. So for me, doors were able to be open because of personal relationships.
Right.
Oh, I know he's solid, and that took me to places that I mean, I was supposed to be, but
Absolutely.
like on paper, I shouldn't have been. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? So
Oh yeah.
I think that really was like the biggest thing because, you know, I'm able to show up in person for a lot of these people, and these people started showing up for me.
Absolutely. So what are some of your pieces of advice on nurturing those relationships in an authentic way, especially like let's say you meet someone for the first time. It's like we're always discussing the follow up and how to stay genuine and how to keep it, close to the heart. What are some of your tips on that and nurturing those relationships continually?
Yeah, I mean, it can be difficult when you're meeting a lot of people,
Right.
when you have a goal in mind, right? And
Yes.
you want to be intentional,
Right.
but you also don't want to be like one track minded and impersonal, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think tips would really just be when you talk to people, like really, really try to boil down to like try to find out like who they are
Yes.
outside of their job description, outside of what they can potentially do for you. Really go down to like how do we connect on a human level? And if you start there, like everything else is just gonna open up like a lot easier, right? It doesn't matter if you're an HR person. Maybe what might matter is that, oh, you play basketball, I played basketball. Maybe that's the point of connection, right? So I would really try to find the point of connection that's outside of your kind of professional aspiration.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing would be, like, yo, if you had a conversation and you saw something that was like reminded you of a conversation that you had. Hey, look, here's this article on AI.
Mm-hmm.
It reminded me of the conversation
We
that
were
we
just talking
had.
about
We were
that.
just talking about
Mm-hmm.
that. And I think those are like really good gateways to building good relationships.
Yeah.
I would say those are two key things. Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, yes, absolutely. Especially just being personable and getting to know people. And sometimes it is tough to balance that. Like, I need something from you, but I don't want to be ingenuine.
Right.
And additionally, sometimes we might find people who were like, oh no, that's the person I need to talk to, but we may not click with them.
Yeah.
So it's important to still even be genuine because you're going to get there no matter what. You don't
Exactly.
necessarily have to speak to the president. You might make that relationship with their secretary, and they're probably the one putting the word in for you, anyways,
Or the intern
or the intern.
who can at least get you in the building,
Exactly.
for whatever it is, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
treat everyone kind.
Exactly.
Absolutely. And so as you left MGP, you're like, okay, I'm fresh out. Like, I'm finna go into the world and spread my wings. I'm sure there were hurdles that you experienced, but what were some of we call them pivots. They can be named failures. We don't say
Okay.
that word. But what were some of the pivots that you experienced in your career that eventually, as you look back, you're like, oh, no, I needed to experience that because it really did impact positively on where I was going in the future.
Yeah. It was a lot of pivot. I was getting boxed out at every corner. So it was
You had to play
a
defense
lot
for
of
real.
you know what I mean?
For sure.
Defense
For
for
sure.
real. I think that it was a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, like I said, as a multi hyphenate creative, at leaving MGP, so even in MGP, I was just a creative,
Yeah.
right? Like I wasn't even a producer. I wasn't a like whatever. I didn't really have a specific
Like
like
title.
function.
Okay.
I did like graphic design stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and I also did like copywriting stuff. And
Mm.
then I would just help with like ideation,
It
right?
really gave multi hyphenate.
Right. So like it wasn't like I didn't have a specific role. And that began the compartmentalization of myself. That was
Mm-hmm.
the beginning of the journey because what I didn't understand is going into trying to get into the advertising world, I would have to compartmentalize my story in order to even be like I don't know, scene, right?
Yes.
And that was the beginning of like trying to figure that journey out,
Mm.
So it's just
Self
like,
discovery.
are you a graphic designer? Are you a
Mm-hmm.
copywriter? Are you a
Mm-hmm.
producer? There was and then everybody was telling me that I was unfocused. So I
Mm-hmm.
started to believe that I was unfocused. But innately inside of me, I knew that I needed to keep going,
Right.
So just in terms of the pivots, I think it was really the beginning of figuring out how to live this multi-hyphenate life. I think a lot of people were telling me, I got the masters of none narrative, and I got you got to specialize in something, and like the stubbornness just wouldn't let me like do it. So, but what did happen was that I was like, I am gonna do everything, but I'm gonna spend more time. So my
Yeah.
whole thing is like, if you want to have your cake and eat it too,
You gotta be
bake
the
two
best.
cakes.
Yep.
Bake two
Of the
cakes.
best
So I
cakes.
spent of the best cake. So I spent the time baking two cakes, three
Yeah.
cakes, four cakes, five cakes,
Yeah.
and that has really just led me to where I am today. Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like that's something we're still navigating
Mm-hmm.
now. For a personal anecdote, I can recall having interviews and seeing the job description saying, oh, okay, I do all these different things.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was speaking myself up, I was like, this isn't, and they, oh, well, it doesn't really sound like you have the time for us, or it doesn't really sound like you have the time to focus in on X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
I was like, no, that's not what I was saying. I was saying
Right.
I could do more than what you,
I'm trying to big
right, I'm
myself
trying to help
up.
you.
Maybe I did a little too
Maybe I
much.
did a little too
You know what I'm
much. And
saying?
so sometimes you do have to, okay, let me put myself in the mindset of the person on the other side of the screen or
Mm-hmm.
on the other side of this desk. And honestly, what are they looking for? Get in that space
Mm-hmm.
and make it work for myself.
Exactly.
So absolutely. And again, we call those pivots. So, you're here where you are now,
Exactly.
but those things kind of have to happen.
Yeah, and just to add on to what you're saying, the key is and what I learned, right? The key is to curate the conversations, curate. There's a time and a place for everything. So understand like the room that you're in, curate the skills that you have according to that, but don't shrink yourself. Those are
Right.
two different things. So once you kind of learn how to do that, you kind of start to move a little bit more with your chest up.
Yeah.
And hey, I am this and I am doing everything. But for
Yeah.
the purposes of this conversation, here's what you need. Here's what I got that fits that.
So like finding that lane, like when you are in the space, and I think I would love to hear more of what it looks like in real time of not shrinking yourself, knowing like, for instance, maybe I came in as a content creator, but I know I have the skill to possibly come in on creative strategy, like, or something like that. How do you, when you're baking all those cakes, how do you balance that? What is that? What did that look like in real time?
Yeah, I mean, I think that first of all, it took a long time to figure that out.
Yeah.
Right? It took a long
How
time.
long we talking? Because I
I
only
mean,
got, no, I was kidding.
it took it took years. It took up
Man.
until, I would say like maybe 2-3 years to really like refine. And even now it's a constant like refining, right? But I think
Right.
that I now have a little bit more of the language and experience to articulate it. But like it took me 3 years, it took me like 10 years just so it doesn't have to take you 10 years.
Yeah.
Because then we can have a conversation and you can move forward in that way, understanding that. So what was the question?
What did it look like? Essentially figuring it out.
Yeah. I
in
mean,
real time.
so I think figuring it out in real time. I mean, it's a lot of pivots,
Yeah.
right? A lot of pivots, but I think that it's really about, like I said, okay, I'm looking at a creative strategist role. In making my music, my last album, how was
Yeah.
I acting as a creative strategist? What are
Right.
those core skills that are transferable? Once you start to look at the transferable skills, and we can talk about that because just I have a whole thing about like multi hyphenates and
Yeah.
understanding your skills.
I'm gonna need that crash course.
Yeah, we're
for
gonna
sure.
talk, and we can talk about it now. But like, it's like once you understand those core skills, then you can put it in context, right? How does my context as a DJ, or as a artist or whatever, like, how does it support your search for a strategist?
Right.
I think once you really like tell that
Translate.
story, then you kind of get to paint a picture, and be the author, I guess, of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that makes sense. And you know, we hear it, and sometimes I know for myself, sometimes I'm like, can you just write it? Because I don't even know where to start. But that makes complete sense.
Yeah.
And so we also just in transition want to congratulate you. We know you just had a baby.
Thank
So
you.
congratulations
Thank you.
on that.
Yeah.
We just want to know, like, what is the best part of being a dad?
Man, the best part of being a dad is really like being entrusted to shepherd a human being. Like God being like, yo, that's you.
Yeah.
Like that's a lot of
That's a
responsibility.
me?
But yeah, but you talking about me? Man, I was in trouble. All
Right, you
right.
sure?
But I think that is the best part. And you kind of get to like, you know, like it's not my responsibility to build this human being because that's not, but it's like to shepherd them through life, to
Yeah.
help guide them through life, to notice the things about them that are like God inspired and God given, and fan the flames
Yeah.
or say, yo, don't go left but go right.
Yeah.
I think that's like the best part. Like I think that's just it's a great like honor and responsibility.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
do you feel like it's had an impact on the vulnerability that you may bring to your creativity or to your career? Like, how do you feel like it's really tangibly
Yeah.
affected your career or artistry?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it expands one, it dramatically expands your life experience.
Right.
Just because, like taking care of another human being
Uh,
comes with a lot of, it's just as much as a joy it is, comes with a lot of ups and downs.
yes.
So I think it opens up your perspective.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of have this new perspective as a parent. You kind of have this new perspective as you're aging. You have this new perspective of, excuse me, someone who is just discovering the world, everything
And its
in its
newness. It's
newness.
amazing.
Excuse me. So it just like really expands.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it just really expands your perspective, and
Mm-hmm.
I think you can like, you know, like I saw the world one way,
Mm-hmm.
and I have a wider understanding of
Mm-hmm.
like what the world is,
Mm-hmm.
and through multiple different lenses.
Right. And what does balancing look like? Like it's kind of added on another skill to your life resume, So what does that look like in balancing all of the things, all your artistry and life and this and fatherhood and what is that? Are you still kind of discovering that?
It's the process for
Mm-hmm.
sure, but I think that you know, I think what's his name? Rick Rubin has a really great way of like kind of like talking about like creativity. I don't know if you like, because everybody's talking about his book. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know if you've read the book,
I haven't.
but yeah, it's a great book. It's
Great
a great book.
book.
He's just this kind of like, he talks about everything in this kind of like the earth and the
Right.
everything's in the air.
How we all
You just
talk.
right there, so you just gotta grab it. But like I
Right.
think it does kind of bring to life some of that,
Mm-hmm.
to where like, there's a time and a place. So you have to kind of be a little bit more flexible with your
Right.
creativity. You might have to be flexible with your energy and like where it's being placed,
Right.
and like maybe it doesn't have to be so rigid.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna do this at this time, at this time, at this time, at this time. It forces a little bit of
Yeah,
flexibility,
fluidity.
and and if you have to defer some things, then that's okay. Yeah, so the balancing is definitely a constant evolution,
Mm-hmm.
but it forces you to be more efficient.
Yeah.
Your creativity, I think creatives, we kind of live in that space. We
Yeah.
live in the universe and the ideas, and we want
Yeah.
to really bask in the brainstorming of it all. But like, when you got a kid,
You gotta
you
ground it.
got 2 hours. You know what I'm
You gotta
saying?
catch it.
You gotta catch it. You,
That's
you
all
gotta
we
catch,
got.
because the alarm gonna go off, and you have
They don't
real
care.
life responsibilities. So you're kind of forced to be a little bit more efficient,
Mhm.
and maybe just like learn your process, hone your process, and just understand. Yeah, just understand your process more. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And speaking of process, like we do our research at the corner store.
Okay, let's see.
We
Okay.
do, and we do be on LinkedIn
Okay.
specifically.
Yeah.
But we know you're going through a series right now.
Yes, yes,
Yes. So
yes.
if you want to
We
touch on
are.
it, we want to hear 7 days. Day
We're
seven.
day seven. Day
Okay.
seven.
So what's
Building
going on with
bliss.
that? Let us know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, currently I'm doing a series. It's called Building Bliss,
Yeah.
and it's a 90-day challenge to build my dream company.
Mhm.
What that looks like, I'm still figuring that out in real time with everybody, but
Mhm.
it's just a process of Yeah, I mean, it's called building in public,
Yeah.
right? A couple of, it's not a new trend. I would say over the next
Yeah.
last 2 years, it's been like kind of like bubbling.
Absolutely.
A lot of like tech companies do it. They're,
Absolutely.
you're seeing a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of business owners,
Creators, social content
creators,
creators.
exactly. So, it was just like, and I have a really good understanding of that space.
Yeah.
So it just kind of made sense that that was the next level because I also have a habit of ruminating and thinking and over strategizing.
Uh-huh.
And this was like an avenue for me to be like, hey, look,
Go.
just go, just go,
What comment say? Go.
build. Yeah, exactly. Just build,
Just
like,
go.
build it as you go,
Yeah.
and bring people along the journey with you.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I've definitely been seeing it. I told myself this was the year of exposure for me
Hmm.
and like just doing things very uncomfortably.
Yeah.
And I too ruminate sometimes a little too
Yeah.
long and
Yeah. That's just,
sometimes you just have to go.
yeah.
And it's tough, but you learn, I feel like you learn even quicker and you grow more intentionally and believe it or not, there's more people supporting you than you think.
Yeah.
And so it's really
Yeah.
awesome to see that in real time as well.
Yeah.
What made you choose 90 days? Why 90?
90 days, it just felt like a good amount of time to really assess if the trajectory, one, if, like, first of all, I don't got that much time.
Right.
Right. But that doesn't mean I don't have patience as an entrepreneur. That doesn't mean that I'm not in it for a long haul.
Right.
It's just that I want to make sure that I can really like truncate a lot of energy into this specific time and look at the end of it and see how far I've come, And also, honestly, it's also a way to assess the true like worth of like my skills, my experience, my network, like all of those things, right? And like truthfully and truly, like I either am I'm either building or I'm rebuilding after this.
Right.
So it's just like, am I gonna have to burn everything to the ground at the end of this and just like figure out something new? Am I working on a new foundation, or am I building the foundation and like after these 90 days, like continuing on a trajectory,
Right.
But like it's it's
Time will
the
tell.
time will
In
tell.
90 days
You know what I'm saying? But
specifically.
there's no room for hiding.
No.
There's no room for, anything. Is just like I'm kind of working in absolutes right now.
Yeah.
And it's just like it's equal parts. I was telling somebody it's equal parts terrifying as it is exciting. And
And
it just
exhilarating.
needs and exhilarating. Yeah, but it's terrifying.
But heavy on that.
Yeah, heavy on that.
Yeah, yeah. And here at the corner store, like we do believe in working sideways. I believe Issa Rae, quoting her, she said that just talked about the importance of networking sideways. And sometimes it's not coming from someone who you're like, sitting at that seat. Like, there's been plenty of times where we've gotten opportunities because someone was like, oh, do you want to come and do this? Da, 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 and it led into something else. So just how important is that to you, and how has that impacted your career, or how have you impacted the career of others?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's huge. There are a lot of people, a lot of pairs that like just I've watched grow, come, alongside. Like I remember people that were like interning at agencies while I was trying to get into an agency,
Yeah.
and now they're VPs. Now
Yeah.
they're like owning budgets. Now they're,
Absolutely.
maybe CMOs. So I think that I'm definitely trying to network sideways. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? But it just to that, like I've watched so many people's journey.
Yeah.
And I think that if we didn't help each other along the road, we both collectively wouldn't be where we are.
Right.
Right. So back to like what I said about mentorship. Mentorship isn't always about looking up or looking at somebody or helping somebody. It can be side to side. It can be,
Absolutely.
like I can mentor someone who is less experienced in
Right.
business than I am, but they also have something of value to give to me. It's an exchange,
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
And you can really, I always say you can pull from anywhere. And their inspiration, skill, tools, whatever. You just really never know how a word might impact your life, or
Exactly.
coming 2 seconds early, or following up with that person. And it's like, when I look back, all of that started from a DM,
Yeah.
all that
Yeah.
started from just saying such and such, can you come with me
Yeah.
to this event? And, it is important. And you kind of touched on this a little earlier when we were talking about how exhilarating yet frightful it is to do things on a public platform, completely public.
Completely
And
public.
sometimes, we're looking at those numbers like only 20 people seen this, but 20 people seen it. Like, wow.
Mm-hmm.
And how would you say you have been trying to dream fearlessly? And what advice would you give to adults to kind of maybe keep that kid like energy in dreaming fearlessly? Because
Yeah.
essentially that's what you're doing.
Yeah. I mean, for me, like just from like a personal standpoint, I think like my dream is like God given, God ordained. So I always kind of lean on the fact that it's not about me.
Right.
You know what I mean? I think that like every time that I'm afraid, every time that I'm like, nervous, I realize that I'm thinking about myself.
Yeah.
And when I take myself out of the equation and I think about, what about who's the young creative that's like really trying to understand how they can really show up as themselves,
Yeah.
are blessed with multiple talents, and don't want to show up in the world fractured.
Right.
Who's that person? How can I be of inspiration to that person? Give them the tools, the inspiration, the language, whatever it is for them to thrive.
Right.
So they don't have to spend 10 years figuring out like I did. You know what I
Exactly.
mean? So it's just like, if that's what I if that's what me stepping forward achieves, then it's worth it. You
Right.
know? And like, to keep it a G, it's worth I'm not going to say failure, but it's worth the pivot.
Yeah.
Because if I take it outside of myself, then I might see it as a failure. But if that person or those people
Yeah.
or this group or that generation succeeds, then I have ownership in that story.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's the difference of leading with pride versus leading with service.
Exactly.
And that kind of takes off the intensity of having to get everything perfect, having to ruminate for too long, because
Exactly.
someone needs to hear this. And it doesn't have to be quickened and done in a sloppy way. It's just someone needs to hear this right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
And it's gonna work out always.
It's gonna work out.
Yeah.
And I mean, y'all live in a content space. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have
Right.
to be polished. So many people are going viral in a dirty living room, and that's their brand. You know what I'm saying?
And those are the ones we remember
That's what I'm
sometimes.
saying. So like, like everything, just get it out there. Just step forward. I think that's like a big lesson in that. And for me, this is the most inconvenient time to be doing this. But it need to be done.
This episode is sponsored by Dream More Carefully, a lifestyle brand built for intentional doers, designed to fuel progress, spark community, and keep motivation at the center of everything that we do. Give us a follow on socials at Dream More Carefully, and also check out our site to follow the movement. Big thanks to the Put It On The Counter podcast, The Corner Store, and the Marcus Graham Project for making this possible. Now back to the show.
Olu, first of all, we want to thank you so much for dropping straight gems continuously. But we can't let you leave without playing a little game.
Let's get it.
You know how we get down around here at the corner store. We play too much sometimes. But our game is going to be called The Cat's Out the Bag. So essentially, I'm going to give you a prompt. I'm going to give you some instructions. So we got a notebook for you, and you'll be able to fill it out based on what I say, and you have a time limit of 90 seconds.
Okay. 90 seconds.
So I'm gonna read you the brief or the prompt, and we're gonna get it popping. Okay.
All right.
So
hold on. Let me grab all my all the creative juices.
yeah, we gotta
in the
ground
air.
it. We
You know
gotta
what
ground
I'm saying?
it.
Let
I'm gonna push it over there too.
All right, let's good. Let's get it.
Okay, so here we go. So New Balance is looking to create a playlist for their upcoming cultural mixer event, right? They're looking to have music from all eras. We need you to choose 3 eras that you would specify music from, mention some artists, a location to have the event, and the target market. Okay, as well as a call to action as well
Okay.
to wrap it all up. So we're looking for the 3 eras, the
Okay.
artists, 3 artists as well,
Okay.
or for each era.
Okay.
The location where you would have the event, that could be city if you don't know the actual venue, but and target market, and finally the call to action, right?
Okay.
So I'll give you a little second,
Okay.
right?
Wait. Wait. This
And then wait,
clock.
no, no.
Okay. Woo.
I'm gonna give
Oh.
don't worry,
Okay.
we don't
All
worry.
right. All
Okay, I'm
right.
gonna give you a
Gotcha.
countdown if you want to
Okay.
grab the pen and get yourself ready,
Okay. I
because
feel
we do
like.
have 90
All
seconds.
right.
Okay,
Okay.
I can already see the rumination. Okay, I can see it. So I'm gonna count you down, right?
Okay.
Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You got 90 seconds on the clock. New Balance, if y'all see this, we hope y'all hit us up and we can give you Olu your information, because we know it's gonna be fine. All right, we have 30 seconds left. We wrapping up that location. We need the artists, the eras, location, call to action, and target market. Now we're at 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. Just write it. 3, 2, 1. All right. I cannot wait to hear this. So again, right, New Balance is looking to create a playlist for their upcoming cultural mixer. So from this, we need 3 eras. You can mention artists. We need the location. We need a target market and a call to action. Okay?
Okay.
Go ahead and pick that mic up.
All right. Let's see. So we got 3 artists, random. So we got Shmino, New Balance. We got Elton John, and we have Questlove.
Okay.
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 The location, I see it in kind of like a desert, location. But it's it's like a, uh, it's like a, I would say it's like a fancy hotel, but like a fancy hotel in the desert, but it's the only thing in there.
I love
Only thing.
that.
And then
Like
from a visual
speakeasy vibes,
perspective,
but
yeah,
literally.
like if you know, you know type,
Yeah.
you know. So let's just say like boutique upscale hotel in the
Okay.
desert.
In a desert.
Target market, I would say kind of like simple, yet sophisticated, creative,
Okay. All ages.
all ages, all ages. And the kind of call to action or maybe like tagline, multi-generational taste, generational style.
Generational style. Cause yeah, you definitely hit, like, we got Elton John, we got Smino, and who's the last one? Questlove.
Questlove.
Yeah, you hit a lot of different
Yeah.
audiences.
Yeah.
And I feel like all of them have a name and a very unique group of people who are invested in their artistry.
Yeah.
So you will have a very diverse event. I will be there.
Yeah. Boom.
That sounds like I already got the outfit in my head, and I'm going to wear New Balances. I would be there.
Right, and it's all like tans and
Ooh, we think like nudes.
like nudes.
Okay.
And like green.
Okay, I might have to hit up our art directors to go
Yeah.
ahead and
Yeah, just
ruminate with you. Absolutely. Well,
yeah.
thank you so much, Olu.
Thank
Like,
you.
this
Thank you.
was amazing. We hope that you come back to the corner store. We hope
Oh,
we leave
I'm
you with
here.
everything you need.
Yes.
You know, because we
I need a
gotta put
bacon,
on.
egg, and cheese before I leave.
Okay, we
First of
got
all.
a barista, and we also
Okay.
have a chef
Okay.
right over
Done.
there.
Done.
I'm both of them,
Okay.
so we'll
You go
make sure
by
that happens.
Poppy or you go by Ock?
Yes, my mommy,
You know what I'm saying?
you know what I'm
Mommy,
saying.
you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
Thank you so much for
Yeah.
walking. Outro himself? Okay, for sure. You want me to go first or you want him to go first? Okay. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for watching the second episode of Put It on the Counter podcast with the Corner Store for the I Create Bootcamp and MGP. We want to thank all of you guys. Olu, any final notes? Please outro yourself. Let them know where to find you.
Yes. First of all, thank you very much for inviting me onto the Put It on the Counter podcast. This is exciting to watch, where one, to get to know you guys and to watch where your careers are going to go and flourish to. And yeah, look out for Building Bliss. You know, follow along the journey
Yeah.
of Building Bliss. You know, my name's Olu Bliss on Instagram, and Bliss House Creative on Instagram. You can follow the journey, and we'll see you in 90 days, Machi. Wherever we
What,
at,
T
we'll
minus
see you.
83? T minus 83.
T minus 83.
We almost there.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And that
Yeah.
was Put It on the Counter, the safest place of them all.